All right, so welcome to this new video where we are going to do like a really basic configuration of nginx, like how to set up an nginx server. Okay, let's go. So first of all, you need to install nginx. So I already did it here. What is it? Yeah. So you do apt install nginx and .y. After that, you need to start nginx. So it's not complicated. I think you do nginx like this. Start. Okay. So you're going to start. Nothing complicated. Also, then you must open your. I mean, if you want to make it public, you must open your 80. Yeah, your port 80, because I think that's the default one for web. Anything is that is web, and also 443. Yeah. So let's do this to see. So you can see my port 80 is open and 443 also is open. So SSL can work, and also normal request can work. Normal web request can, HTTP request can work. Okay, as well HTTPS. Okay. Then once you do this, once you install nginx, it's going to like set up a lot of configuration files on your machine. So I think the global one is this one. So you can see that here there's nothing crazy, there's nothing to change. I mean, if you want to have like basic configuration, for example, here is the place where the log is going to be stored, and yeah, basically that's it. Here, for example, if you want to set up like a mail server, you can edit it, and yeah, really basic configuration for this one. Like this is just for the server, like the global one. Okay. Then I'm going to show you the directory. I think we're already inside. You see, in this directory, like site available, this is where you store the configuration for your application. I mean, for your web application, your server, basically. Okay. So basically, if you have a Python server, or I think anything as PHP server or something like that, this is where you're going to store the configuration. Okay. So by default, how to say, by default, nginx have this configuration called default. Okay. So I'm going to present here. So inside the configuration, it's listen to port 80. Okay. Basically, that's what it said. Listen to port 80, and then this is a small server that they're going to serve static files. Okay. So mostly is using for front end application. So the serve that are going to be served, the files, sorry, that are going to be served are located in root. Are located in var /www.html directory. Basically, point the directory where the file should be saved from. Okay, so like for example, if you request like the IP, like the normal domain, like without adding any path, one of these files is going to be served. Like for example, if index.html exists, this is the one that going to be served for you. If that doesn't exist, this is the one that going to be served. If that doesn't exist, this is the one that going to be served. Okay, so let's go to the root directory to see. So we have this, so we have this file. Okay, so it's this file that going to be served for us. Okay, and location, basically on location, it have a lot of parameters. So URE is basically the path that is being added after the domain, like in the request. Okay, the domain or the IP. Okay, so let's do a test. Let's do a test here. Like Okay, so you can see that is working. So you know this is the this HTML file is the one that is here. Yeah, like index nginx debian.html. That's the one that have been returned for return like after the request have been sent, because we have specified here that as index is like, you know, is like the root, like you didn't specify any path. Like one of these files should be returned if the user didn't specify any path after the domain. Okay, if I do specify any path, is going to be in the URE parameter. Okay, so if I do specify any path, they specify, for example, about, and you know what it's going to do? It's going to check here like if there's any about files. Okay, or if I do specify about, let me show you. You see, that's 404 because it doesn't exist in this directory. It doesn't exist. That's what RE is doing. Okay, it's checking inside your root directory if there's this file that you are requesting, and about doesn't exist. That's why you have 404. So basically that's for the default. Also, one thing I want to add is also the server name. The server name is very important for nginx because this is the one it used to know which configuration it should use for the domain that you are asking for. Okay, for example, I'm asking for API, even though I'm asking for this like www. Let me remove the about for you. You see, it's going to be the same thing. Why? Because here on my domain provider are already set up like if it's API subdomain, if it's 3W like www, all of them going to point at this IP. Okay, this IP. That's why you are seeing it here. So even I remove the www, it's going to be the same thing. If I add API also, it's going to be the same thing. Why? Because all of them are pointed to this domain. Okay, and since I didn't specify any, normally I should specify the domain name on the server name. Okay, so it knows that, okay, for this domain I should use this configuration. Since I didn't specify anything, it just used the default configuration. Okay, so whenever I point to this IP and I'm using any domain, since I don't have any configuration that matches any domain, it just going to use the default domain. Okay, now we are going to add, so let's do B like this. Now we are going to add our own domain configuration. Okay, let's go. So we have domain, yeah. So we are going to do nano. To go fast, I already have it here. That's it. Okay. So this is the configuration. Yeah. So basically, it's listening on port 80. So that's the server name. Okay. So if you send, like, for example, HTTP requests. Okay. So the HTTP request going from this domain name is very important. From this domain name, you're going to use this configuration, this particular configuration, and just redirect our request to this, to HTTPS, okay, to this domain, to this configuration. Okay, so that's how I've been set up. And here is listening on 443 SSL. Like, this is HTTPS request. Okay, so even though we send the HTTP, it's going to send us to the HTTPS. Okay, and we set up our certificates, because without that it won't work. We won't have the HTTPS. Okay. This is protocol stuff. This is like for high security stuff and blah blah blah. I don't know. And here we basically said, and when we get the request, you can pass the request to this server. So this is going to be a local, maybe a Python server that we're going to be set up on our machine, since it's a local host. Okay, so nginx is like playing the role of a reversing proxy here. Okay, so basically get the request and send it to our backend server. Okay, and here I believe is the domain. Yeah, I think it's the domain name, like the domain that have been used. Maybe it could be API scanner, blah blah blah. I think this is host. Here is like the remote IP, the client's IP, and here's I don't remember, but yeah, I don't think it's that much important. I think is some data you can use on the backend side. Okay, to do maybe some configuration, or I don't know, some check-in, this kind of stuff. So basically that's how I just define our our domain, our configuration for this particular domain. Okay, now let's register, let's save. Okay, so you can see our configuration is here. Okay, you can put all the configuration in the default, but to have like a organized to be organized, it's better to separate them and give them a proper name. Now, even though we do this, it won't work. Like, let's go to HTTPS. I'm going to HTTPS. You can see it doesn't work. Why? Because I need to link this configuration to to another directory that is called site enable. Okay, so to link it, I forgot how to do it. I'm going to use ChatGPT to do this. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so we are going to link it to, let's do this. Enable, yeah, and I think it's this one. Yeah. Okay, so let's do ls and check site enable. Yeah, so basically you can see that the default is having linked, and also the API arbitrary scanner.xyz also have been linked. Okay, that means that those are the ones that have been enabled. Okay, those configurations have been enabled. They can take effect. Okay, but it's not finished. You need to validate the syntax. Okay, because maybe there's some mistake, and the nginx going maybe now recognize some syntax in what I wrote. So to validate that, you need to execute this command nginx.t to make sure everything is okay. Nice. So you can see that it said the configuration file nginx syntax is okay, nginx configuration text is successful. Okay, so the syntax is okay. Now we need to reload the nginx server. You can use this one without shut down the server entirely. So we just load in the configuration. Okay, so now let's try again to and one thing that I forgot to say is that I didn't talk about the SSL part. So you can here use let's encrypt to add like a certificate to on my machine, and also the certificate key. So you can use nginx plugin or standalone plugin, any other certificates also, but here I'm using let certificate. Okay, all right. So let's try again to see. And bam, so we have it's working. Now why we get 502 baht gateway, because I didn't set up the this server. Okay, so I get the request. My nginx is getting the request, but it doesn't found this server. This server doesn't exist. Okay, so for that one, we are just going to set up like let's get out from here first. Let's clear this thing. We are going to set up like just a small Python server. I already found the script here. Let me get it quickly. Oh shit, I don't know where I put it. Yeah, for example, this is a server. Let's do Python 3. Okay, let's do this and let's run it. Okay, so we have start our Python server on port 8000. Okay, so basically if you send a GET request, we are going to get like a hello world or something. Okay, so let's try again. And bam, you see, so you can see it's secure by Let's Encrypt. So the communication between the client and the server is secure. So the HTTPS is working properly, and yeah, so even though you remove the ES, yeah, it's being handled to the HTTPS, so there's no issue here, like except you use like this domain. So because I didn't no, this one doesn't exist, except you use this domain. Let's see. Yeah, this one I didn't set up any configuration for this domain, for this particular domain. That's why it just go to the default. It just use the default nginx configuration. Okay. Let's go back again. Let's shut down this one. What's the point? Yeah, let's do it. I'm going to show you again. Yeah, so where is 7 name? Yeah, so you can see that here is the 7 name. Okay, this is where this is what nginx is really looking at. Okay, so when for example I'm using HTTPS and it get a request, it looking for which configuration file it should use. So it look on 7 name and say, okay, this one. So and then he applied all these rules. So basically that's it. Nothing crazy. It's really simple. So basically that's how you can set up your nginx. So if you want to set up a static file, you can just follow the one like the default one. Maybe you can add some more security, and you can ask ChatGPT to help you to do this or any model. And yeah, basically that's it. Thank you for watching.